Adam Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I was elected to this House to be a voice for working people, for the thousands of families in Erewash who in 2022 saw their mortgages skyrocket because the party opposite sent markets spiralling with billions in unfunded tax cuts. Those people that I represent, they didn't vote for Liz Truss. Most of them actually didn't know who she was. But it was hard-working families up and down the country and in Erewash that paid the price for her failures all the same. That should never happen again. What my right honourable friend the Chancellor did last month in the budget, made actionable by this bill today, was to take the necessary decisions to ensure that there will never be another Liz Truss moment again. The provisions in this bill will deliver, by the end of the decade, the fiscal headroom that we require to withstand shocks and help pay down the national debt. They do so while we deliver record levels of public investment, and they do so without a return to the brutal, crippling austerity that gave this country 14 wasted years under the previous government. Change is already underway, Madam Deputy Speaker. The economy is now forecast to grow faster this year than previously expected. As record investments and trade deals made and secured by this government pay off, and as reforms to stifling planning rules finally come through and deepen, it can grow further. In the first year of this government, Madam Deputy Speaker, average wages grew more than they did in the entire lost decade of the 2010s. And what happens when workers have more money? They don't sequester it to Dubai or the Cayman Islands, they spend it on housing, on food, on our high streets, in the pub, on their children, the greatest investment of all. Rewarded properly for their labour, they fuel our economy. And I will give way, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Giving way. I wonder when the people of this country will catch up with the honourable gentleman and start to express the appropriate gratitude for all that has been bestowed on them by this government.
I thank the honourable right honourable gentleman for his amusing intervention. I'm sure over time will tell on those points. We must all contribute, though, Madam Deputy Speaker, to Britain's renewal, and there are things that only government can do to secure that renewal. If we want to get the NHS back on its feet, fix our crumbling schools, cut waiting lists and truly invest in Britain's future, we must pay for it. We know that the alternatives, proposed by the parties opposite, lead only to calamity. Liz Truss showed us that when you cut taxes for the wealthy, it's working people who ultimately end up paying. Nor should we want infinite borrowing, however. I don't want to spend £1 in every 10 serving debt interest. It should go to our schools, our hospitals and our country. So yes, in the budget and in the provisions made in this bill, the tax burden has increased. But it is those with the broadest shoulders who will bear the greatest weight. Those with property to let, those with shares to sell, those paid not through wages but through dividends, those with such vast savings that they pay tax on the interest alone. In the name of time, I'm not going to give way again. These are some income streams that are overwhelmingly enjoyed by the highest earners, and it's by and large the already well-off who will pay more under the provisions made in this bill. Those provisions include changes to national insurance relief on pension contributions through salary sacrifice schemes. Again, a mechanism primarily used by the highest earners. It includes reforming council tax so that a £10 million mansion tax in central London means that people who live in central London are not paying less council tax than terraced house owners in Ilkeston and Long Eaton. It includes a new surcharge on homes worth more than £2 million, which will be paid for by fewer than 1% of homeowners. This budget, Madam Deputy Speaker, was for working families, for the everyman and the everywoman, for children and for young people. It was a budget not for millionaires, billionaires, slum landlords, investment bankers or the bosses of big corporations. As I said, in the name of time, no more interventions. Instead, we're taking action to cut the cost of living and strengthen our public services. £150 off energy bills on average next year, rising to £300 for the poorest households. Again, money back in working people's pockets. As inflation continues to fall, it becomes easier for the Bank of England to cut interest rates, as it has repeatedly under this government. Prescription charges, train fares, bus fares, all frozen. 5.2 million more appointments in our NHS, with 250 new neighbourhood health centres, cutting waiting lists and bringing back care closer to where people actually live. The parties opposite will decry these measures, exposing our fundamental differences. Reform, not here today I note, would sell off our National Health Service to the highest bidder and force people to pay for the care that they need. Meanwhile, the Conservatives are calling for mass redundancies in the public sector. Enough to sack every police officer in the country twice over. They're against the minimum wage. They're against protections for workers. They have no plans for growth or renewal. Just policies that would leave working families worse off, while their donors get richer and richer, Madam Deputy Speaker. To renew Britain costs money. To restore confidence in the public finances takes time. To get the economy growing again is a serious challenge, but we are meeting it. The choice is between the measures in the budget in this bill or a return to austerity, and I know which side I am on, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will never apologise for standing up for working people and for saying that the highest earners should pay their fair share. Nor should the Chancellor, nor should the government, and nor should the British people.
Here.